Whoops. Okay. We're going to, there we go, everybody. There we go. Okay, excellent. Excellent. Okay, so for anybody who's new and for anybody who's heard this before, why do I keep talking about what is WCBOO, Women's Collegiate Basketball Officials Organization? Why do I keep talking about this? Because I want you to talk about it, right? When you're in the locker rooms and you go to your post-season parties, hopefully we'll have some in-person events. When you get to these events and you know someone that you think would make a good women's collegiate basketball official, send them to info@wcboo.com. Tell them about WCBOO. Tell them that we're an educational organization and we only want to help officials learn and get better. So just to review, this is an IBO board. It's a unique IBO board. We're not a local IBO board, so we have nothing to do with any local officiating politics. We have everything to do with being a national education board for women's collegiate basketball officials. We train anyone who wants to be a women's college official. And what I love about WCBOO is that we're building a culture and a place. I've gotten emails from people across the country. I've gotten calls about games that people have worked and situations that they've been in. I'm talking to people that I don't know. And because we are an IBO board, people are noticing. And so we get to reach out and touch more officials than we would locally. We're also not affiliated with any specific assigner or coordinator, so we're all about teaching you. And I know, I like to quote Al Battista on the call every time: master the rules, all right? Master the mechanics and spread the word, if you would. We have a few education team members with us tonight. Popping in tonight is Bobby Pirro. Welcome, Bobby. We have Rich Fetter. We have Al Battista, Julie Goupel, and we have Scott Perkins, Carl Small, and Jim Grillo, our president. Thank you for coming, everyone. I know it's not easy for you to get here. Sunday night, 8 o'clock, maybe you had a game today, but we appreciate your time. Okay, here's some of the rules. You know what the rules are. They're really easy. Don't talk to us. No, I'm just kidding. Keep yourself muted, please. Jim is going to be monitoring the chat. Put your questions in the chat because I know you'll have some and they will all get answered. I just wanted to give you a little message. So a lot of us talk about our past and our mentors, and I'm going to talk a little bit about mine. And also Officials versus Cancer. So my mentor is John Moran, and he's like my other dad to me. Unfortunately, he was diagnosed with brain cancer in August, and he recently passed on January 18th. And so a devastating loss for me and for his family. It happened really quick, something that wasn't expected. But let me tell you a little bit about John. John was a women's collegiate, one of the first women's collegiate basketball officials in a time where Division I didn't exist. So this was AIAW basketball. Division I teams played Division IIIs and Division IIs. The divisions were, the teams were all mixed up. The divisions didn't really exist. And there was no NCAA, all right? So John amazingly officiated the very first women's collegiate basketball game at Madison Square Garden. He was on several TV games. I spent a lot of time in the car with John, and he told me so many different stories, especially the one where he forgot his pants at one of the Garden games, and it was on TV. And, what color pants do you think John had on that night? He had brown pants on TV. True story. But John was really helpful on the court to me, and I'll tell you how. As a mentor, and he's somebody that chose to mentor me. I wasn't, looking for someone to help me, but he just naturally, this was the way he was, and we connected on more of, like I said, a father-daughter level. But what he would do in the car is just talk to me about how great I was, and you're going to be ref in D1, and you're going to be doing these playoff games, and You know, you're the next best thing, you know, in New York City, and you're just gonna do more games and you're getting good. And he would just remind me that of things so much that I started believing them, because when I first started officiating, I didn't think I was good. I enjoyed officiating, I enjoyed refereeing basketball, but like all of us, you know, we make mistakes. And so John started making me more and more and more believable, to the point where he would say to, like, say Rich was my assigner, you know, Kerry, she's going to be ref in D1 in 2 years. And, you know, some of it was a little, you know, like I say made up, but you know, he meant it, and what he said is what I accomplished. And so um, he was also a very good person. He's the type of person that you know, really cared about others. My father was really sick. My father also passed of cancer years ago. He's the type of person that he didn't just visit, you know, my father. I mean, they didn't know each other that well, but he took me to the hospital when I could have taken myself to visit, and spent time, and gave my dad some book of, you know, book on the Knicks, or some, you know, silly basketball book. But, you know, it's something that I never forgot, that he just took the time to be so caring. And I know that all of you have these kinds of relationships. And I just wanted to share a little bit more personal about me, and the fact that, you know, officials versus cancer does mean a lot to me. And so that's why you keep getting all those emails from me. But I just wanted you to, you know about John, and how he's affected women's collegiate basketball, to the point where this is what I'm doing. I'm telling people, hey, you know, you might get to the next D1 game. You know, you're going to move up the ladder. You're really good. You know, you can do this, and it's just comes naturally to me now. So, you know, John, rest in peace. Just one more thing before I hand it off. Amazingly, WCBOO is in the top 3 um, for donations to Officials versus Cancer. I don't know if you saw on all my emails now, I stuck in a little pink button right in the middle. If anybody goes down just a little bit further, you'll see it. And every time I send out an email, I get some more donations. So I don't know. I think you can see this. Anyone that gives $25 gets the pink whistle and the pink lanyard. I really appreciate your support of Officials versus Cancer. Now you understand a little bit more about why it's important to me. And I thank you for your time. So now, without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to, so we have Rich tonight showing plays, and then we're going to have Scott and Battista with some comments, of course. And please feel free and welcome to ask any questions in the chat. Jim will be monitoring the chat. And take it away, Rich. Welcome back.
Thanks, Kerry. Good evening, everybody. So yeah, so Scott and I are going to show a couple plays, pretty fresh in our minds as well. The first one I'm going to show you is fresh from a game I had yesterday, actually. And I want to make this a little bit more interactive tonight. And obviously, Al would love your thoughts in terms of positioning and mechanics here. But let me go ahead and share my screen on this. Let me get the play up. All right. So let me just make this big for myself here. Okay, so this was a play, and don't mind the score at the bottom. The score is totally wrong. This feed is very different from the normal broadcast feed. But this was at about 25 seconds left in the second quarter here. And the action is going to happen in the front court, right at the top of the lane. And so there's a lot of layers to this play that I'll talk through, but I'll play it through once. And then I actually would like everyone to give their opinion on this play. I'll play it through once and then talk through the scenarios here. So it might have happened fast, but the action is going to happen right here. I'm going to go back a little bit. do it one more time. The foul is on the white 21. So on this play, I caught kind of last second, just saw the swing of the arm. So acknowledging the foul on the floor here, I immediately, knowing that we have courtside monitor here, wanted to go look at this to see if it was worth upgrading to an intentional, and we obviously have the option to go to disqualifying foul. So we did review this play here. It was called a personal foul on the floor. So I would love to hear everyone's thoughts in terms of what the final outcome of the play was here, understanding that we called a personal on the floor and then reviewed it, which we did have different angles when we reviewed it. And we were able to slow it down frame by frame zoom. So I would love everyone to put in the chat what we had here, and then I can talk about what we did come out with and the thought process there. And then, Al, I'd love you to chime in terms of crew positioning here. So I see the chats they're coming in here. I'll give everyone a minute. I'm seeing intentional, flagrant one, which I would call our intentional. Okay, it seems like it's very unanimous. I do see there was a question here. Do you think I was in the best position for that play? It's funny, we talked about this at halftime. I was the one in the best position to get this from the crew based on where everybody was. The lead does not have an angle at all to see the swing of the arm and if it made contact and where the contact happened. And the trail is more on ball coverage. So if anyone's going to get it, it's going to be me. And if nobody gets it, it gets a little bit more uncomfortable in terms of a possible unobserved, which hopefully somebody would have blown the whistle and we would have went and reviewed this there. But in terms of primary areas of responsibility, that is my primary as the center official there. So it seems like pretty much everyone said intentional here. And I will say we came out, and I was the crew chief on this game. So my process is everyone has an opinion on this play. So it was my call, but both of my partners came and had an opinion on this play. And after we reviewed the same angles with all three officials, we came out and I asked my partners first what their opinion was on the play. And they both said we should upgrade to intentional. And I agreed with them. And even if I disagreed with them, the fact that it was a majority, my stance on monitor reviews when I'm the crew chief is majority rules there. So we did upgrade it to an intentional foul. We brought the coaches together, explained the situation, told TV talent, PA announcer. So American in this situation, red, was awarded 2 free throws to any player. And then they received the ball opposite table at midcourt there. So it was a very interesting play, something that, can catch you off guard at any time because, it's very early in the game and it wasn't a contentious game to expect something like that. So it was a fun one. I will say a fun one to have. So Al, now I'd love to bring you in terms of positioning and mechanics here, and I can start the play from the top and also turn the volume down a bit.
Yeah, so can we go back and let's talk about the trill just for habits. So everybody, when you're going from lead to trill and there's no pressure in the backcourt, just remember this. And I'm going to talk about this all the time because it's easier to say to do, but it's hard to do in the games. When you go from lead to trill and there's no pressure, find your clocks, find your team fouls, find the formation of the offense and find the formation of the defense, and officiate your first primary defender in the front court. Okay, those are your 5 responsibilities. So clocks, fouls, formulation of the offense, formulation of the defense, and the first primary defender in your PCA. So I can't really see what the trill's looking at, but the ball is not going to hurt you, you know, and so on. So then we go to Rich in the center, and Rich, you get to the starting position. Great. Right there, you're at the free throw line extended is great. One of the things that I've seen in games, and I was with John Levinson Tuesday, and he said a lot of our centers are getting too low. And he said that if the ball's high, be 1 step low. And if the ball's low, be 1 step high. But when you start getting below that, you don't get good angles. And sometimes if you're going to get pushed below, then try to wait and get back to your starting position, because if you look at it, our center is like a mini trill at times, but Rich gets in a really good position and makes a good call. I agree it's an intentional foul, and I'm glad you explained the penalty, Rich, for women's basketball, for NCAA women's, because I know there's some high school officials on the call and some men's officials, and the penalty's different. And the thing is, I just think, is that Ashley in the lead?
Yes.
Yes. I just think Ashley, if she's going to rotate, just my opinion, she's got, from this scenario, she's got to accelerate, because she rotates when a pass is in flight, and that's kind of dangerous. So right there, and she stops, you know, and so on. So let's go back to the play. Okay, so Rich is there, he's seeing these 2 players. I want you to put this in your vocabulary. See that right there? That is a dangerous matchup. It's called an engaged matchup. And I have matchups. I have competitive matchups. I have passive matchups, and then there are engaged matchups. If you ever have an engaged matchup in your game, like right there, a lot of times is good for officials to double up on that play. We're just talking about basketball IQ right now. That's an engaged matchup. It's dangerous. Everything else is pretty passive. So that's just something, you know, when you're watching tape, to think about. So just run it one more time. I'm sorry. And Rich, good job. And Ashley does a good job getting there too, and so on.
Okay. Thanks, Al. And let me just check Carrie, I see you had a question here, telling TV talent. I think what's important with also telling the PA announcer, and as well as if there's any talent courtside, is to, and with the coaches as well, is using rule book language here. I think that is a big thing, because whatever you tell them, they will then communicate to whoever's watching the game. So in this case, you know, when I brought the coaches together, I also, you know, we're a crew, so I don't have to do everything here. I have, you know, one of my partners go tell the PA announcer, one person go tell talent, you know, why we're going to the monitor, and then our outcome afterwards. So we make sure we have a call on the floor. And then afterwards, when we review it, explain why we're upgrading, and the penalty that follows. So in this case, per intentional foul rule language, this was excessive, unnecessary, and/or hard contact against an opponent. We just use that language and we move on, and we're safe because the book backs us on that. So, you know, we try to be, you know, as short as possible, but as detailed in terms of rule book language. So, and then to your point, Carrie, if we get booed after that, so be it. But as long as we're doing it the correct way there.
Rich, so everyone practice that. So when you go to the television, you know, just practice that, like, and you might want to go over there and said, after video review, we had excessive and unnecessary contact. Therefore, by rule, it's an intentional foul where any player or substitute can shoot 2 free throws and ball to the division line away from the table, and everyone's going to go, wow, wow.
Yeah.
And you just get instant credibility.
Yeah. Yeah. And they will thank you for that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they don't know.
Right.
So they will speculate. If you don't tell them why you're going, they will speculate and say, oh, maybe they're looking to see there's a clock issue or something.
Right.
They may not know why you're going.
Right. But to practice that, okay. You know, you just got to practice that.
Any other questions? I'm looking, there's one in the chat.
Yeah, we've got one question there. Al, maybe just talking about the player's body language and whether or not this might have been accidental contact,
Yeah.
which doesn't necessarily mean it's not illegal.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think she, you know, just watch it. I don't think she meant to do it, but it's dangerous. It's dangerous. And that's something else that not quite in the rule book, but it's dangerous. And especially when you start getting hit in the face or the neck or the shoulder, and that stuff you want to clean up. And because remember, in any basketball game that you're refereeing, you don't want rough play. You do not want rough play. Mm-hmm. And I think also this is a great call to get for the crew, because there's a couple things you're saying, but Rich is saying, hey, we're officiating off the ball tonight. Number 2, we're not going to let illegal acts go. Okay. And number 3 is, you know, I understand these matchups. And number 4, I know what to do to go over for the video. So you just gain instant credibility.
Yeah. Yeah. And Al, can I piggyback off of that as well?
Sure.
Isaac, I'd like the devil's advocate view here, but in your comment, you do say it's a legal contact, which is what will back us by rule. Mm-hmm. So that is the most important piece, is we need to do what's right by rules of the game. And the player, in our opinion, she did not mean it. I mean, we call the rule an intentional foul, but no way did we feel she meant to do this. But she knew the player was there, and it's her responsibility to stay in control of her body when defending another player. And you know, her coach had no qualms about it. She said, okay, thank you. And we moved on. But I think it's our job to be the officials of the game and enforce what John Levinson tells us every night, and enforce the rules as written. Mm-hmm. And we will get support from that.
Well done.
Okay. All right. So, Carrie's got a question as well, Al. Opinion about moving with a purpose while rotating as lead.
Well, I think for this play, when you rotate, you know, you want to rotate where their matchups area. I mean, there are a lot of things to do when you rotate, because my opinion, the lead position is the IQ position when you rotate, because you got to know what they're running on offense. You have to know the key players. Sometimes you have to take a peek out to see what the point guard is looking at. You know, there are a lot of things to look at here. You know, are they right-handed? Like I saw the other day, I saw Lehigh play, and I don't know if you had them, Rich, but they have 4 left-handers on that team, and they will run plays to the left side, to the one-on-one plays. So if you know that, you want to get over there. The only thing I'm saying on this play is I would just Ashley, if she's going to rotate, and she stops and tries to get back, and it happened on that play, that's a play that you might want to accelerate. And, you know, we always say walk, but there are some plays you have to accelerate. And if you can't get over there quick enough, just stop and close down and do the best you can and referee it. Does that answer the question, Carrie?
Okay, great. Any other questions or comments on this play before I pass on? Another very interesting play with, and I'll let my buddy Scott talk through this. Scott, I'll pull it up for you. Get this screen.
We apologize in advance for the quality of the video. We tried the raw
Yeah.
footage on Synergy and ESPN. I think it was on ESPN3, and it was just you know, it was just a kind of a struggle, but it's a really interesting play. Good play, Rich.
All right, let me just turn the volume down on it.
We'll run it through first without saying where it's going to happen, but so it's going to happen right as the as kind of the picture changes, and it's going to be right where the max sign is in the paint. So just take a look and stay with that play in this area pretty much the entire time. Nothing else happens otherwise. So just keep a look in the paint.
I'll play it one more, Scott, I'll do it one more time and I'll
Okay.
go slow-mo on this one.
Okay.
Bring it here. This can go a little bit.
No, you want to do it one more time in slow-mo?
Yeah.
And of course, it's right as the picture changes, but that's the only feed that we had. That was the only feed we had at the monitor. That was the only feed we had at after the game. So pretty much what you see is what we were going off of and what we had to base our decision on. So if anybody would like to chime in on what they have, the action area is obviously with I believe it's white 12, and I'm not sure what number blue is.
Scott, what was the call on the floor?
The call on the floor is nothing. The call on the floor, I'm sorry. The call on the floor was nothing. There was nothing. There was no signal made, but we got together and we had something as if we went to the monitor and there was no picture. So if you, I don't want to tell you what we had, but if you want to throw in the opinions and your comments in the chat, then that would be great. So just watch this act right there. Right there. And if you guys want to.
So, and Crystal and Ryan both stopped the clock before that, it looked like.
Correct. So
It was dead ball.
I don't know about fortunate or unfortunate, but I'm not in the picture. I was the trail going to be new lead. So I had an opinion of what I thought I saw, but I really didn't have much to bring to the table because I was essentially at half court. But the action is obviously right where you saw it. And we're seeing, let me see, intentional or technical.
Do you want to talk through like what you guys did during
Yes.
the dead ball period?
Yes. So I'm just reading kind of what everybody's thoughts are before I divulge. So honestly speaking, go ahead, Jimmy.
I was gonna say, this is one of those plays where you're going to get a lot of opinions, and we're seeing that in the chat right now.
Right.
And even on the court, it looks initially like the center official is coming in with the foul. And am I correct that the lead is actually coming in, lead becoming neutral? Is he coming in with a jump ball?
So play it through one more time, Rich. Correct. So what we had right here was a moment where, I'm going to be completely honest, extremely happy that we had a monitor, because if there is no monitor on a game like this, and I think a lot of these people on this call are working without a monitor, this is an extremely difficult play. Live speed, because we all watched it on replay about 5 or 6 times, and I think we still have a majority of differentiated opinions. So luckily for us, we had a monitor, and like I said before, the monitor isn't always great, and we have to basically have something on the floor as if the monitor doesn't work. So like Rich's play before was, they had a foul, they did not go intentional right away. So if you go over and the monitor doesn't work, you're pretty much going with what the call is on the floor. So right now, I'm the trail official. The lead official is signaling a jump ball. The center official has her fist up. We weren't really even sure what she had, if it was a fist or she was just kind of stopping the clock. But if you see right here, she kind of has a foul. We come in together, and just to basically talk you through the whole process, she had a intentional foul on white 12. Okay, so the call that we used, what a lot of people were seeing, the act of white 12, she had an intentional foul on white 12. At that point, we had nothing on blue, because if you see in the action area, it's kind of tough from her angle to see really what blue did. It might have been easier for the lead to pick up, but it happens really quick. And all we saw was the act of what 12 did. So if you play it through right, it's going to happen right now.
And Scott,
Okay.
real quick, I want to clarify something. We're in a dead ball period because it looks like Ryan just throws his arms up. I don't think it was calling jump ball.
Mhm.
Yeah,
He made
I bel-
basket.
he might have stopped the clock. Just to put his hands up. I thought he said it was jump ball, but regardless of what it was. So
Yeah.
if you look at her arm, it actually goes up kind of before this last act right there. So she had an intentional foul on white 12. I don't know if it was for that act or that one. So it's just a really interesting play. So we had nothing originally on blue, and we just had an intentional foul on white 12. Now, as we said, luckily we had the luxury to monitor, because right now we have nothing on blue and just an intentional foul on white 12. When we went to the monitor, if you play it back one more time, Rich, because it happens extremely quick. If you see right here, you're going to look at blue's right arm right now. She kind of similar to the play where Rich had, where it was unnecessary contact above the shoulders. She hits her in the face. And after that happens, you could see that white 12, I think somebody wrote in the chat, she knew what she was doing. Here it comes. She absolutely knew what she was doing. So it's much easier for us to say this now after going to review the monitor and slowing it down 10 times. So what we came out was we had an intentional foul on blue, and we actually had a disqualifying foul on white 12. And I've been reffing Division I basketball for 12 years. That's the first time I've ever had a disqualifying foul on a player, believe it or not. So if you want to talk about uncomfortable, we were at the monitor for about 5 to 6 minutes because we couldn't get anything right away. And what we're showing you, which is kind of makes sense for what we went through, we had nothing more than this. And luckily, like we said before, we had a monitor to even look at. But we actually, we were there for about 5.5 minutes. I'm not sure if Rich was watching or somebody was watching, and they actually timed how long we were there. So I know a lot of you probably haven't been at a monitor, but being at a monitor for a minute can be stressful. 5.5 minutes. So now you want to talk about crowd booing. And I think, everybody kind of got the feeling that it wasn't going to go for the home team. So it got a little bit restless. The coaches were getting a little bit restless, but we basically just had to exhaust all our resources while we're there. Unfortunately, sometimes we go to the monitor and we have no look at all. So at bare minimum, we were going to come out with an intentional foul on white and nothing on blue. And when we slowed that down and we watched the play, I think we could all agree that would not be the correct call. So we deemed an intentional foul on blue player, and we had a disqualifying foul on white player. And, to speak kind of what Rich spoke about before in the question Kerry asked, the monitor is a tool and a resource. We really can't referee relying on the monitor. Fortunately, we did have it to go reviewing this play. But like I said before, I reffed a lot of games without a monitor, and, plays like this don't happen often. So we kind of, and they do catch us all off guard. So remember, we need to report what we see and nothing more than that. We're 3 people. There's 10 players on the court. So we're more than tripled right off the bat. So it's really, really important that, like Al talked about before, we're in our coverage areas. We're looking where we're supposed to be looking, and we're still going to miss plays, and we're still going to be taken by surprise, especially a type of play like this. So I can't, from everybody commenting on what it could be or what it may be, I don't blame any of you, because the only thing that we had relying on was the monitor. Because at that point, like I said before, we had nothing more than an intentional foul on one player. So I'm trying to look through the chat and kind of see.
I think I'll give you a question.
Sure.
One is, how did play continue?
That's a great question. So I was going to actually ask that in the chat, and then I was going to ask in the chat, but I realized people would be typing and we get overwhelming. So, Rich and I are best friends. So we talked about this and, we kind of agree, John, everybody's a member of Arbiter for the most part. So it's always an ask John or a kind of a, give your opinion on a rule change. So believe it or not, and this was a lengthy discussion from us as well, because between the three of us, neither of us have ever had a disqualifying foul in our game on a player, especially coming after an intentional foul. So believe it or not, we're going to point of interruption, which is we assess the intentional foul, we assessed the disqualifying foul, and we gave the ball to, I believe it was whoever the team, we had basically an end line throw in. So it doesn't feel, trust me, that doesn't feel right either, because you're thinking they're equal gravity. But in my head, I'm like, we have a disqualifying and intentional. That's not equal to me. If I push Rich and he punches me in the face, to me, that's not equal. But based on the rule book and the adjudication, that is actually the ruling. So if you don't learn anything this call tonight, just know that if we have a disqualifying and intentional in the same dead ball period or approximately the same time, we are going to point of interruption, because those are fouls at equal gravity. And we're going to save the conversation to have with John Levinson in the summer about that. But, I don't personally think that those are equal gravity, but by rule they are. So that was a lengthy discussion as well, because we want to make sure that even if our judgment's wrong, we never want to misapply a rule. And we all agreed that even though it didn't feel right, we believe they are equal gravity because the penalty is the same.
Right.
So, this was just definitely an interesting play. Hopefully it doesn't happen again anytime soon, but I hope seeing it tonight for some people, if this ever does happen to you, you remember, hey, I remember that play they showed us, and this is how we adjudicate it, or this is how we put the ball back in play. So it feels extremely comfortable when you eject the player and then you have an end line throw in for, I believe, that team. It was white ball. So just kind of an uncomfortable feeling, but definitely a good play to talk about and learn from. And if you have any questions. Yeah. So the whistle, I saw that last. Right. So the whistle by the C before the DQ foul didn't separate the time frame.
Mm-mm.
No, it's approximately the same dead ball at the same time.
In the same dead ball period.
Or the same dead ball period. So
The
that's
made
when
basket.
right. So the made basket. So those were when the fouls happened. That's a great question. Same thing where we had technical fouls. The old way about it was if we had a technical and then we had intentional, we would go down one end and we'd shoot and shoot. So I think John did a great job where he used the language of approximately the same dead ball period or approximately the same time, because it eliminates the decision making of what order do we shoot in, we have enough to worry about. So, especially a play like this or some crazy plays, we don't really want to have to worry about that. So I think those rules changes that he made really protected us and made it simplified basically how we come back in with the ball. But I'm trying to look to see if we have any other questions.
Kerry had a comment about the emotions you all had as a crew and how you got through it.
Well, I mean, it was a young crew. We definitely had some experience. So it wasn't the first time that any of us had been to the monitor. But like I said before, anybody, you could, a Joe Vasili, Final Four official, anytime you go to the monitor, even if you're comfortable, it always creates a contentious and uneasy feeling. So like Rich mentioned before, and Al mentioned, we communicated to the coaches, we communicated to the play-by-play, we communicated to the PA announcer. Just because when you let them know and you give them information, it puts everybody at ease. They may not like the decision, but at least if they know why you're there, they don't start asking questions. How many times have you seen on TV where officials go to the monitor, they don't tell the coaches, and then the next thing you know, the coach is standing behind the officials trying to look at the monitor because they're uneasy. It might be the foul might be going for them, but they don't know. So I think the more information we provide them, the more calm that they feel and the more calm that we feel. Also, we had a lot of pieces of this play. Excuse me. So like Rich said before, we wanted to make sure that we kind of rehearsed what we were going to say to the coaches and the play-by-play before we told them, because there was a lot going on. So I think like Rich said before, the more we rehearse things like this and the more we talk it out amongst ourselves, the smoother we are when we communicate to the book, the coaches, the table, because we knew, we even said as a joke, we're like, well, what do we do now when we tee up the white coach? because that's, and that's really what we thought was going to happen. He didn't, he wasn't happy, but it put him at ease that we actually saw the play in the monitor. If you don't have a monitor this game, you are definitely going to have a contentious situation with probably any coach, because I don't think there's a coach in America who's going to have a player ejected and shake their head and say, thank you. So just kind of a lot going on in this play. And if anybody has any questions, you want to unmute yourself or throw in the chat, but otherwise, Al, do you have anything on positioning in this particular play?
So let's go back, and because we've been working on things and for
Let me pull
everybody.
it up
So
now.
yeah, sorry.
Sorry, Rich.
No, it's all right. Let me get it here.
So we're coming up in a good job by the Trill. So it's did she catch the ball out here, or did she end her dribble?
I believe she ended the dribble and she dumps it inside, right?
Okay,
Or,
so
yeah.
right there, when she ends her dribble, get your eyes on the defense. She ends her dribble, get your eyes on the defense. Okay, now she throws a pass right here. Okay, now see these two right here? The ones who committed the foul?
Yep.
That's an engaged matchup. So look where our lead is. Where's our lead's eyes?
Looks like on the ball.
Right. He's
Mhm.
got to get to the tee, and he's got to focus on that engaged matchup. And the center can help too, because the center has an unengaged matchup or a passive matchup. But to me, this is dangerous right there. Okay. And the Trill really, really good position, but the Trill really doesn't need help. The Trill's refereeing a 2-on-2 game. So when you're refereeing, by the way, everybody, when you're watching tape, say, hey, what am I refereeing? Trill's refereeing a 2-on-2 game. Our lead should be refereeing a 2-on-2 game, and our center is refereeing a 1-on-1 game. So that's what we're doing right now. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so right there, center, the Trill, it's going to be hard to Trill, but the center is got to help with this. To see this defender that's coming at the shooter, the center has got to get that. And our lead, if he's at the tee, he can referee too. So once the shot goes up, you have to say to yourself, oh, what's our rebound coverage? Lead is got those two right there, and our center has got to help. And then our Trill can assist as well, because that's dangerous right there. And I think no one's really on it until the aftermath of it. And the Trill, good job. Maybe the center, maybe in perfectly, maybe come up to that free throw line, extend it. But I think if the lead just washed off the ball, he could have cleaned that all up from the get-go. Also, too, like, it's confusing coming in with two hands. I've seen a lot of officials do that. And the question is, where is that in the officials manual? There's no such signal. So, does he have a jump ball? What's going on?
Yeah, that's funny. You said, it's funny you mentioned that, because I believe, I'm trying to think about, I don't believe he had a jump ball, but I think when we watched it, we thought he did.
He's coming in, and it's just a bad habit. But I tell you what the officiating crew does well. The lead and the center, they get there. Now, here's another thing. And FIBA talks about this. We always talk about managing the game, right? And we always talk about, if you don't get this play in your game, you're going to lose control of the game. And that's something to put in your basketball IQ bank, is there are plays in a game you cannot miss, or you're going to lose control of the game. And that's a great job with the crew of going to the monitor, being patient, taking their time. The penalty is, the foul of equal gravity. As Scott said, one's intentional, one's disqualifying. Okay. By the way, someone asked on the chat, in an intentional would be like a dead ball contact Class A in men's, and a disqualifying would be a flagrant 2 in men's. Okay.
Right.
So So that's what you have, and it's a foul of equal gravity because the result is 2 free throws and the ball at the division line. That's why it's a foul of equal gravity. They equal. And so they're just like crossed out. So, but overall, that's a good job. It's just, those are just some things to remember. But everybody on those plays, don't get so tight in the lead unless you have to close down, and so on. The reason why we're putting the ball play at the interruption, because the fouls actually cancel, and our point of interruption is the made basket. So that's the penalty for fouls of equal gravity.
So in this case, White gets the ball for a throw in along the end line, and they've got the ability to run there because it's following the made
Excellent,
basket.
Jim.
Right. Yep.
Excellent. So there's a lot of good plays from this. Tyler, yeah, you're right. The starting position for the lead should probably be at the tee.
Mhm.
Be at the tee. And you can take a peek at the ball, but you got to get to that matchup. You got to get to that matchup. And you know what else? You know, another thing about this, what type of matchup is it? Anybody?
Mismatch, for
It's
sure.
a mismatch. It's a big versus small.
It's a big little.
Yep.
Yeah, and big versus smalls are dangerous. They're very dangerous in any basketball game. So those
Absolutely.
are just some things just to throw in, you know, in your toolbox and what you can learn from this and everything. It's a good, excellent play.
Great. Thanks, Al. Appreciate your feedback.
Carrie, we have time for one more, or?
Yes, we do, Rich.
All right, let's see. Pull up here. All righty. All right, this is from yesterday also, and this is probably more from I think I personally, for me, I really want Al's perspective here, in terms of coverage area here. So the action is going to happen. I'm in the center position here. It's going to happen right up here, right in just in the 3-point arc. Contact by red 44, who is right here. So I'll play it through. And I'll play it again. And I'll play it one more time. And this is just one of those where, in some opinions of people, it could be a 50-50 call, block charge. But I'm more interested in terms of mechanics and positioning here from Al's perspective. And we're early in the game here. This is first half. That score is, again, wrong. The synergy view is a lot different here. But it is a first half foul. So Al, would just love your thoughts
Yeah,
from positioning.
So
'cause there's a lot of movement here.
let's do a quick drill right here, okay? So was this a rotation or because Ashley is really low?
Eventually, no, we did not have.
Okay, so she just came down just low, right?
I think actually I'd have to look, but based on where
Okay.
she is right now, we probably had a rotation by the lead.
Okay, good. All right, so Rich, let's put you in the center. So everybody put yourself in the center. Okay, so let's run it in, and I want you to do this at home, okay? So we got the catch. Okay, now here we go. Now here's an illegal block. Okay, she never gets into her path. It's just illegal. I mean, it's all right. Here we go. So Rich, to get to your defender, illegal block. Good call. Okay, one more time, because this is really a good drill. So get there, boom, good, block. So just say to yourself, legal, 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 or legal, legal, or illegal, or illegal, foul. Good job. And that's a drill that you can practice too by, you get a, and so on. So Rich, get to your defender, here we go. There it is. She never gets in a legal guarding position. Now, I would like to see Ashley when she's coming. Good hustle by Ashley, but keep your eyes on all the players. When the ball's dead, everybody be alive. And everybody struggles with this on any level. So just get in that habit. And a nice job by the lead, hustling to get that ball back into play.
Rich, can I just add one thing?
Yeah,
So can you just slow it down? Just run it through real slow.
on the contact.
You could just run the pull play. All right. So we're going to pick up the defender's feet. Watch her feet cross right there.
Mm-hmm.
So years ago, Joe Vasili, who was one of my mentors and helps Rich out as well, told me, when you pick up the defender and you watch their feet, okay, it is very, very difficult to run across your feet and not move forward. So if you were to stand in your living room and try to run and cross your feet, it is nearly impossible to not go forward. Because I've sent him many plays that I've missed. And I think the common denominator is that more often than not, especially a player trying to go a distance to guard an offensive player, once those feet cross, so you see right there,
Yeah.
that's prior to the illegal act. And that is almost a telltale sign that if you went and watched your plays, and I think I spoke about this before, and just
Right.
something I do is I mark my plays on folders, block charge or RALDB, whether they're, right or wrong. And I think a common theme is plays that I've missed and called charges on plays like this, 9 times out of 10, those feet cross and the player is almost always moving forward.
Yeah.
So I think that's just a
Yeah.
great point that Joe taught me. And, if I could share that with everybody, I think it's just a good little tool.
That's phenomenal. In fact, everybody, that is a great play calling guideline, which Scott just said. Write that one down. Scott, that's excellent. That is a great tip. Yeah, because what you're saying, it's almost impossible to get in a legal guarding position once she crosses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
absolutely.
there was a question here. The C has 4 players officiate here. What should the T be looking at? In my opinion, and Scott and Al, you can chime in. In my opinion, the T should be peeking to help me a bit if I have no whistle here, because there is a screen that actually turns out to be nothing. But because the T has no engaging matchups on that side of the floor, which is kind of the weak side of the floor at this point, she should take a peek over if for some reason I have a brain lapse and I have nothing here.
The other thing I want to mention, the other thing too, if you look at Rich's and Ashley's footwork, it's great. It's phenomenal. If you have great footwork, you can like Ashley's ready to help. You see her footwork, she's engaged, and Rich, his footwork's excellent, so he can referee that play. But if you get into a neutral stance, it's going to be really hard to help or actually maybe even to officiate the play. So that's another thing to think about.
Yeah. Okay. And Al, I don't know if you saw the score, but American didn't take the lead until 4 seconds left in the game.
Wow.
They won by 1. Yeah, this was a good game.
Yeah, I just want to mention before we end, I had the pleasure of being with John Levinson Tuesday. And if you never heard John Levinson speak, a phenomenal interpreter and just a great presenter, and he's a great person, and we had just a great time. And I had the pleasure of watching Joe Vasili referee Kerry, and it was the American Lehigh game, and he was outstanding. And on another shout out I want to give, I had the pleasure of watching Rich Federer referee on the American Navy game, and he was outstanding. Rich, well done. You did a great job. You worked every possession hard. Phenomenal job. And today I saw one of her, I think she's an 801 member.
That's your shot.
What's that? I saw Kenya Kirkland. I think she's a member of Board 801. I saw Kenya Kirkland, Kelly Mitchell, and Michelle Gasaway work the #1 high school basketball team in the nation. They played the championship game today in DC. Also members of Board 12, and they also did an outstanding job. So I've seen a lot of good referees out there. I see a lot of you on this call. I haven't seen all of you, but the ones I've seen, really nice job. And Carrie, Rich, Scott, Jim, and everybody, thank you for letting me be on these. And these are phenomenal.
Al, it's our
Al, thanks so
pleasure.
much for that.
And some of the names that Al is mentioning, Rich, Scott, I've seen Ashley too in person. Their demeanors, right, Al? They're so patient throughout.
Great poise. Yeah.
They don't get rattled, and they're very calm. And it's a different vibe, honestly, than when I started refereeing. And it's really promising to see the patience that everybody's showing out there. I know this is not an easy time to officiate.
Okay. Well, thank you again, everybody, for being on the call. We want to be respectful of everybody's time and make sure we end promptly for 9 o'clock. So just a couple of quick announcements before we wrap things up. First of all, again, to say thank you to Scott and Rich for sharing their plays. It's never easy to put yourself under the microscope publicly. So being able to share plays that you guys had just very recently and be able to critique them openly in a forum like this so that we can all get a little bit better is tremendously appreciated. So thank you to Rich and to Scott for that. And of course, Al, thank you for breaking things down and giving us a little bit of a different perspective. What you see as a clinician, as an observer, as an evaluator, as a trainer, maybe a little bit different from what those of us who are actually on the court get to see. So we're at the end of February. March is going to be here before you know it. Those of us that are still officiating into playoff games, conference tournaments, and beyond, congratulations. That's a testament to everybody's hard work. Very proud of all of the WCBOO members for continuing to advance in the season. Our next in-season series will actually be more of a post-season series. It will be on Sunday, April the 27th, after everything has wrapped up in terms of collegiate basketball, but certainly a lot still happening. So Sunday, April 27th, mark your calendar, 8 p.m. Kerry will certainly send out the invites again. I'd like to give a special shout out and welcome to Lauren Duziak, who has joined the WCBOO Education Team. We're very happy to have Lauren on board, and we'll be hearing from her during our April call. Thanks for everybody participating in the chat. Just to echo what Kerry had said earlier in the call about officials versus cancer, WCBOO Board 801, we are the third leading group in terms of donations right now among all the IBO boards in the country. And wouldn't it be great if we could push over our goal of $1,000 and maybe move up that leaderboard? Not that we get anything out of that other than the satisfaction of helping out with a really good cause. So the link to that is in the chat. And you can also go back to our website, which is womensbasketballofficiating.com for all the information. So at this point, we're going to say goodnight. Thank you again, everybody. Hope you all have a wonderful night. Enjoy the remainder of the season. Stay safe, stay well, and we look forward to seeing you for our next call on Sunday, April the 27th.